Hello, today I'm going to be finishing off some stitching cards. Now these are projects that I have already stitched on and done all of the die cutting and the stitching, and now I am turning these stitching products into cards. For this one I use the stitched petal frame, and I am also using a piece of gold mirrored cardstock that I had left over from one of the card kits. Now this gold mirrored cardstock is cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is a standard A2 size card, and the white die cut piece is just a hair smaller than that, it looks like. So I'm going to be centering this white piece onto the gold mirrored cardstock. So first I'm going to go ahead and put down my gold mirrored cardstock with some double-sided tape. I use the Easy Runner Grand, which is this machine here, and it will be probably my 7th or 8th refill that I'm on for this machine, and I've not had any clogs or any mishaps with the way that this is configured in there. It has worked just fine, and it's very easy to put in replacements. Alright, now for the stitching part, since there is so much fabric and there's all these little details, I do like to use adhesive glue to adhere these onto my cards, and since this is gold mirrored cardstock, it is quite slippery, so I have to be careful of how I attach this to my card. I'll be using the Barely Art liquid glue for this. And you can purchase that on the Spellbinders website, or you can, I have a link in the description, you can also buy it on Amazon. But it is a quick drying glue and it works really well. Plus it comes with this precision nozzle tip, and I never really use it without the tip. I always have the tip on there just so it can help me put my project, I don't know, make it the best project that I can, so it's not all over, glue all over and messy. Although the glue does dry clear, so if it does get all over, it's not too terrible. So first I'm going on to some of the bigger sections of embroidery floss, and then I will take my precision tip here and just go on some of the bigger open areas, especially the parts that have like the longer lines here. I don't think all of it will touch the gold mirrored cardstock too much because of the embroidery floss. There's a little bit of puff to it. And if you're interested in knowing how I do the embroidery on the paper, I do have a playlist of stitched cards on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested in seeing that, go ahead over to my channel. If you just click Stationery by Justine, that will bring you to the channel, and if you click playlists, you can click on the stitched cards, and that will bring you to the playlist where I have all of my stitching. If they ever come out with new stitching dies, I do like to put on how to use it, but there's a number of videos already on how I stitch, so I'm not going to show that part. Alright, so now that it is on, like I said, I will need to trim off a little bit of the edge here, but I'm not too concerned about that. I just want to make sure that this part is on first. And I die cut the stitch die out with this piece of scrap paper that I received from a coworker who was kind of going through her stuff and she didn't want it anymore. And it kind of reminds me of like a wallpaper almost. It's a pearly striped, a very thin striped piece of cardstock, and I thought with the white on white and gold behind it, it would be really pretty card, a really pretty card for a wedding. And we're going to a wedding tomorrow, so I had to make this card or finish up this card today so I can give it to the happy couple. Now, I could have cut this in advance, but I chose not to. This time I got lucky and I did not have to cut twice. There we go. All right, now to move on to the other cards. I have a few with this border flower and the border that has more of like the loops. The flower was from a die of the month from 2021, and it came with a few other pieces. And it looks like this. And then it comes with these side edges. And all I do is anytime I'm doing a bordered card like this, I save the cards that come in the card kits because they are a little bit thinner than what I use for just regular cards. And I love that, and they have like a little bit of a linen finish on them. So what I do is I take the card that came in the card kit of the month, and I will line up the border where I want it on the edge. So maybe about here. Sometimes I push it all the way down to the end, and then I will take the die that lines up with this edge. This side goes on this side. This one has 2 flower petals, so that would go on this side, but I won't use this one since I will just want to cut off the edge. So I will put that in my die cutting machine. It will die cut out, and this piece comes off, and it is left with basically this. Then I put it in my MISTI. Just in case I have to stamp twice, I will stamp my sentiment on there. Then I will stitch. And I do that because if I stitch first, then put the sentiment on, and if I mess up a stamp, I have all my stitching done and a messed up stamp, I'll be kind of disappointed. And with crafting, if you have mistakes, you either have to just go with it or start over. And I probably would just end up going with it and have to figure out a different way to make the card work. But for stitching cards, I kind of like them to be kind of simple like this for the stitched borders. So I like to stamp ahead of time if I remember. And especially if I'm going on a trip or something where I know that I will have a space available to do stitching, but not necessarily space to do all of the card making, I will go ahead and prep some of these items ahead of time, and then when I'm on my trip, I can just sit there and stitch. When I get home, I can take my cardstock and finish up some of these stitched cards. So they're really simple, and I think that they are just a perfect card because they have a little bit of flair with the stitching, but they're not all in your face with too much glitter and just too much. It's kind of subtle. Now, the stamps that I've used with these cards are from the June Spellbinders Club memberships. So these two are from the Stamp of the Month the Be Beyond Grateful and Sending Happy Thoughts Your Way. And the simple happy birthday stamp is from the card kit of the month. And that card kit does come with a stamp set. So that just simple happy birthday sentiment comes from that card kit. And I think that that's probably one I will be pulling from again and again, because happy birthday is such a simple statement that you'll always need birthday cards as long as you have people in your life. So it's a good one. Plus that stamp set of the month is really nice as well, because it has kind of like a sending happy thoughts, could be a little bit of a sympathy. It could be just a how you doing kind of card. It could be an encouragement card. Get well, anything like that. And then the Beyond Grateful is kind of more of like a thank you card. But, I mean, you could use these for different occasions. Now, I'm putting this colored cardstock on the back, which is technically the front of the card, but inside the card. And you don't necessarily have to do that, because sometimes, like I am doing on this project I have over here, that I'm also using the stamp and die from June, is you can be very discreet with how you start and finish your projects, and you don't have to have any washi tape or anything back here, and you don't even need to have a piece of paper behind it. It could just be a simple card with a stitched border. So that's an option. To show you how I do that, I just wanted to kind of show you on this one. So I did pick up this little tool. It probably was about a month and a half ago. It's from DMC, and it's called like the needle threader, I think. And it is technically a needle threader. So this middle part here is for needlework. So that's for the stitching. And then these two end pieces are technically for knitting or crocheting, hiding more of like a thick yarn or twine, but you don't have to use it for that. I'll show you here in a second how I do that. So anytime I'm starting on a stitch card like this, I start from the outside and have my tail kind of tuck. So I will put it through, and then I'll try to lay my tail down a little bit here. And if you have on hand some liquid glue, you could certainly just put a dab there, walk away for 5 minutes, come back, and it's probably going to be dry enough, but you don't have to. You can do this. You can hide your tail. So I'm kind of pinching it here. And now my string's on the outside, so I'm going to go in through the big hole and up. Then I'm going to try to hide this tail by just kind of pinching it or tucking it in. So instead of going this way, I'm going to go to this next hole, pull through, and come up the middle. All right, it's already getting a little bit tight, so I don't have to worry about pinching that for the whole flower. So then I'll go to the next one, in through that one, and up through the middle. Now this is the bad side, so it's always good to check the front just to make sure everything's looking okay. Now this is the third stitch that will hide the tail. So far everything's working out great. Oh, let me just hit the camera. Perfect. And through the middle. Sometimes stitching gets a little wild with the hand. Up through the middle. And now at this point, if I were to take my scissors and just trim the tail, it will stay. So I could do that. like this, and then just continue my flower around, and I will probably run out of thread about here because this was the thread that I split into half, and I'll end up with a light color over here, which is kind of what I was hoping for, and then in the center I'm going to do a light green card or light green flower. So I will finish this another time. It might make it onto a video, it might not, I don't know, it might go on a trip with me, we'll see. But I just wanted to show you how to hide that tail quickly and without washi tape. So if you don't have tape, or you don't want to use tape, you don't want to use glue, it is a possibility. Okay, for time's sake, I'm not going to get the knot out and finish that flower right now. I'm going to finish my cards. That's what the video is about, after all. Now, I forgot that this is quite a big border die, and I do need to add a little bit of liquid adhesive behind here, just so it doesn't pop off. Nothing too crazy, but since I use two colors, there's definitely a lot going on, and I have some mismatched washi tape behind here, so I want to use some glue. And a gentle press will finish that process off. I didn't put any glue behind any of the flower bordered cards, but I don't think it really needs it at all. So there's that. Now, if you do want to add any bling or embellishments, you can. I think I will use some of my pearls on this purple card, just because it's kind of the same coloring. And I'm going to use the light colored ones. I don't know what happened to my voice there. And just a little adhesive will do the job. Do the trick. Get the job done. And where's my drill picker? Perfect. That matches really nicely. All right. I think I'm going to leave this one, this yellow one, to have gems, and I think I will put some of these purpley blue pearls on this card just to pull out some of the blue tones in these pearls, because I don't get to use these very often, but I really think they're beautiful. Kind of remind me of like a fish scale or like a mermaid tail. There we go. All right, put those away. And this one I will use gems. I think I'm going to use the gems. These are from the Damask Daydream card kit of the month. And I really like the way that these look with the greens and yellows, because it kind of has a purple sheen to it. So I am going to use these up. Oh yeah. To put these on, I am using my Spellbinders Tool-in-One, and they do have a little bit of adhesive on the back, but with the embroidery floss, I just put a little bit of liquid glue down to make sure that they are not going anywhere at all. And just one more little push down just to ensure adhesion. All right. Now with this one, I don't want to add any bling really, because I think that this card will probably be going to a male, and I don't know if that person would appreciate the bling as much as just looking at the stitching. But with a card like this, you could put bling on these little, they almost look like flowers here, or you could put bling on the edge in the centers of these diamonds, on the pointy part of the fanned area. You could line the edge with bling. You could really do a lot with these cards. So it's all up to you if you are creating. All right, well, there are the 4 bordered cards, and then I do have this one stitching card that had the full stitching. So if you're interested in purchasing any of these items, I will have all of those linked in the description. And I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!